Hey everybody, I am coming making this video message, and I want to talk about more information that some of you all have inquired about concerning a temp agency. I do not work for a temp agency anymore, but about 4 years I did. And although it's 2025, there are a few of you who will still come to me in my comment section under certain videos, or even the couple of temp agency videos I did maybe a year or two ago, and you will still ask me questions. So I just want to give this updated version of some more inside scoop into what you can expect working for one. Now, let me say this again, because I said it some years ago, but I'm going to tell you all this again. Working for a temp agency is not for everybody, but some people who do steer more towards a temp agency, they do it because they want and need the flexibility. Some of you all may feel like having a permanent job is for everybody and it's mandatory. Honestly and respectfully, it is not mandatory for everybody. Some people out here are running a business. Some people have a elderly parent they're taking care of, or they have a sick family member or a sick child, and they need the flexibility without the threat of being rolled up, being suspended, or outright fired if they call off, if they come in late too many times, or if they take a PTO in the middle of maybe an audit or an inspection coming up, depending on what type of job they have. And so people are steering more towards working for a temp agency because it's flexible. You can pretty much pick and choose the days that you want to work. You can pick the hours that you want to work, and it's more open. That way, if there is something going on in your personal private life that you need to tend to, you don't have to worry about being threatened to be fired, or your pay being docked, or you being suspended, or you being rolled up and complained about to corporate. So let me tell you all something. When you work for a temp agency, the number one thing you need to know is that you must pay attention to how that company treats you. Anytime you go into a temp agency, I don't care if it's for a factory, I don't care if you're a temp at a grocery store, I don't care if you are a temporary supervisor, or a temporary substitute teacher, whatever it is, because I have to say these things and be detailed, because a lot of people are under the impression that when someone works for a temp agency, that is just a low-end factory job. Depending on what company you go with, there are very high-paying temp agencies, and they require you to be higher educated in order to maintain a certain position. So don't always think that people that work or steer more towards temp agencies are felons, or they are not educated, or they are on drugs, or they are just desperate for work. You all cannot be this limited in your thinking. You cannot form conjectures about people who work for or desire to work for a temp agency, and you definitely cannot make an assumption believing that it is one caliber or certain calibers of people only that you put in a box that goes to a temp agency. But you need to pay attention. If you do choose to work for one, pay attention to how the company treats you. This is something that I learned, because if you are at an agency and they don't respect you, meaning they are always separating you from the permanent workers and talking down to you, disrespecting you because you're a temp, and they always remind you you're a temp. You can't do that. You're a temp. We don't have to do that. You're a temp. You can't go work over there extra time because you're a temp. I want you all to pay attention to that, because work is work, and whether you are a temp or a permanent worker, the end result is you're going to get a paycheck just like everybody else. And believe it or not, some temp agencies, they can break their own rules. The temp agency, typically they have a contract within the company that they are allowing temps to come in. So whether you work at a hospital, at a school, a factory, whatever it is, a restaurant, they are contracted with that restaurant, that school, that hospital, that factory, and they insure you as the temporary worker. And so what they do is they will tell the manager of the temp agency you work for, okay, we have temps coming in, but after they do their 8 hours, you have to allow them to clock out. They don't do any overtime. However, certain agencies can request the person that they have the contract with, or the business that they have the contract with, they can say, I have some temps that are willing to work longer past their 8 hours. They are willing to stay over. And as long as the company is in agreement, you have to check all of this out for yourself, and you have to ask questions so you can know the pros and cons and the ins and outs of that agency. But pay attention to how a company treats you. If they go out of their way to say, listen, although you're a temp, I'm going to help you generate more money. So if you want to work overtime, you are open to work overtime. If you want to work on the weekend, you can work on the weekend, because certain agencies only allow you to work Monday through Friday. But if you don't want to work Monday through Friday and you want to come in on a Saturday or even a Sunday, certain agencies will allow you to do that. And certain companies that you work for, if you're good as a temp, they will put in a personal request for you to come back because they enjoy you. So pay attention to that, because the way a company treats you is usually a precursor to how they're going to treat you if you decide to cross over 100% and become a full-time worker. One thing I can tell you is that the agency that I work for, I wasn't too much interested in turning into a permanent worker, because one location that I went to, they were very trashy in how they treated temp workers. It did not matter how much overtime I worked. It didn't matter how early I would come. It did not matter how sweet I was and how respectful that I was, and how sometimes I would come in on my off day. They still would treat me the way that I did not want to be treated. You will notice that they will keep, like I said, reminding you that you are a temp if you try to make a complaint about a permanent worker. Because if that company does not check their permanent workers and they let them know that you're a temp, a lot of those permanent workers will feel like they don't have to respect you because you are a temp. They will try to disrespect you, talk down to you. They will feel like whatever they do to you or whatever they say to you, it is not going to hold any weight because you're a temp and they are a permanent worker. And so if you see that a temporary agency allows this to go on, if you complain to the agency about the treatment at the particular location they send you to, or if you see how the company itself treats you that is contracted with the temp agency, I would not recommend that you choose, even if they ask you to go permanent, I would not recommend that you go permanent. Now, if you feel led to do that, if God has touched your heart or put an impression upon your spirit and said, daughter, son, this is what I have for you. You are a temp now, but I'm going to grow you and expand your territory. You can learn a lot more. So go ahead and go permanent with the company, because to each his own. And the way that God deals with each one of us individually or deals with you, yes, I'm incorporating God in this message because I am a believer. And so any decision that you make, me as a Christian woman, we consult with God about it. So if that's your lane, you consult with God about it. And if he is leading you to go permanent, or you feel an impression upon your heart and spirit to go permanent, by all means do that. But if you are being mistreated, what do you think is going to happen when you turn permanent? You cannot believe that they're going to immediately shift and start to respect you or be upbeat with you and listen to you if you have a valid complaint, if that even comes up. They're going to treat you the same when you are a permanent worker. Another thing I want you to pay attention to is the racism. A lot of temp agencies, if it's predominantly Hispanic or predominantly white, you are going to come across some workers that are very racist, and there's going to be a lot of favoritism. And so I said in one video about this topic how I would see certain people in the agency be in training to do a certain thing, and if they were chosen for their position with the promise of, okay, I'm going to go permanent, or you can permanently put me in this spot and I will come to this location and this spot every day but still maintain my temp position. What I would see sometimes, if it was an African American man or woman, if they had a son or daughter, or maybe a significant other, or their mother or father worked there and they could do the same position as well, they would move a black man or a black woman out of the position and start training their loved one or their significant other or their mother or father. I saw that several times. Pay attention to that. Also, I want you to realize that when the company has an issue with you, they will go to the management of the temporary agency that you work for. And if they straighten it out, meaning the temp straightens it out with you, whatever issue you have, and they tell the company, okay, we had a conversation with her, we had a conversation with him, everything is worked out, everything is okay. Be aware that sometimes that company will threaten the manager of the temp agency. They will tell them, say if the company keeps coming to you trying to convince you to cross over, because they are held accountable for you to a certain extent, and they have to pay you out for the work that you do, and it comes through the temp agency. So I want you all to remember that. So if that company is telling management of the temp agency that you work for, you know what, she or he has been working here for 1 year, they need to hurry up and make a decision if they're going to be permanent or not, or we are going to renege on our contract. We are not going to allow any of your temporary workers to come into this company, and we are going to remove the contract. Or they will pick out certain people that they no longer want to show up at that company. I have also seen that. You have to pay attention to this. A lot of times in certain temp agencies, if they are under a contract and it's working out well, in spite of it working out well, if that company does not like a certain worker, or if they feel like you are so good that they don't want to lose you and they want you to be a permanent worker, but for whatever your personal reason is, you're not feeling that, you only want to go there for your little 4 or 8 hours a day, they will do whatever they can, sometimes underhandedly, in order to get rid of you. They will do it because they try to have a certain amount of control and power. I cannot tell you how many supervisors I came across, and they love me. They will put in special requests for me to come to that particular location and to operate in that role or that position. And I was always asked repeatedly, go permanent, Kiki. Why are you still a temp? Please just sign over and cross over all the way. And they would get angry when I didn't do it. When you are good, this is why as a temp worker, you need to be on top of your P's and Q's. Don't allow somebody trying to downplay you being a temp. Don't allow that to trick you into thinking you have to work, or you are going to work below average. You work that job just like you would work and go out of your way to a certain extent at a permanent job, because you are being watched. Take pride in your job. Thank the Lord that you have a job, because there are a lot of people who are crying because they have a very difficult time finding work. You don't go to your job as a temp agency late. You don't go to your job with your hair all over your head. You don't show up at your job smelly. You need to take a shower or a bath. You need to have clean clothes. You need to dress nice. Do not get caught up in any mess or confusion with other temp workers or permanent workers. Something else I noticed noticed is that a lot of permanent workers, even though they knew you were a temp, a lot of them were very messy. They were very messy. They would come, they would gossip, they would want to try to date you, they would want to try to get personal and private with you. They would try to ask certain questions about the temp company that you work for. And if you told them certain information, they would go to their boss and release the information through gossiping. And then sometimes behind the scenes, if you were told, it's a DNA on you, meaning do not, or DNR, I'm sorry, do not return, and you investigated it, you would find out, okay, you told the person that you're a temp, but the temp does not pay you for holiday time. And you told a permanent worker that. If they go and they gossip with their boss or somebody on their management team, that boss will go back to your manager at the temp agency. And don't be shocked if they tell you do not return. I saw so much in these temp agencies. That's why I thank the Lord there was just a season of my life, because I had a lot of other things going on. So it was very, very flexible for me. Very flexible for me. And I enjoyed it. I met some beautiful people there. They were beautiful people. A lot of people were intelligent. They were very, very nice. But I know that's not everybody's story, and that is not everybody's experience. But mind your manners, be on time, make yourself available if they ask you to work on the weekends. I'm not saying that you have to do it every time, because also, something that's the negative side of it is that if you do work on the weekends or you work overtime, you stay past your 4 or 8 hours, whichever shift you work or whatever schedule they give you, they will start trying to take advantage of it, and they will not respect you. They will still request you because you are a very good worker, but they still will throw in your face that you're a temp. They will not go out of their way for you. They will not protect you. If you have an issue with somebody that is a permanent worker and you're complaining about that worker, that company will not help you. They can like you all day. They're not going to protect you. They're going to look at you like, well, you're not a worker with our company. We don't have to protect you. Yes, we like you. You have a very good work ethic, and you are, to a certain extent, better than some of the permanent workers up in here, but we're not going to take up for you. And as quiet as it's kept, the agency won't really take up for you either, because a lot of them within corporate and management of a temp agency, they are cool with a lot of them on a personal and private level as far as the company goes. Don't be confused and in the dark thinking that because your manager of the temp agency is over you, that they don't know the manager or somebody in corporate or a supervisor of that company that you're working in. A lot of them are personal friends, and they talk to them in the workplace and outside of the workplace. So they already know everything that's going on with you. Trust and believe it. I would see it with my own eyes. My manager was like this with one of the supervisors of the company that I work for. They would always be in the hallway talking. They would always be sitting down, sometimes eating lunch together. They would be laughing together. They would be conversating with permanent workers and temps. They would go back and forth and play both sides when it was beneficial and convenient for them. But you as a temp, if this is the route that you want to go, pay attention to that. Pay attention to how you're being treated. Pay attention to if they are trying to put pressure on you to go permanent, but you know in your heart that is not something you want to do. Don't allow anybody to try to guilt trip you into going permanent. Don't allow anybody to try to force you into becoming a permanent worker, because I said it before and I'll say it again. Some of the most miserable people that I have come across were permanent workers. They can talk about temporary workers all day and all night and all year or whatever. They can say whatever they want, but they were so miserable, so messy, so gossipy. They would dog the company out, and they were not a temp worker. They were permanent. They would look at you and laugh at you and crack jokes about you and try to be disrespectful and act like you were silly to be a temporary worker, because they really made the assumption that you didn't make a lot of money because you were a temp. But them being a permanent worker, a lot of them would complain about the money that they made. A lot of them would complain about how they got snapped on and suspended because they took PTO. And on that particular day, they were not supposed to take it because it was not confirmed through HR if they can actually take the PTO day. People were fired that were permanent workers if they came in late. It was just a lot of control. But these would be the main people at the end of the day that would have the most to say about the company that they permanently work for. A lot of the permanent workers, they would dog out their fellow co-workers. They would always have something to say about them. And so don't believe the hype. I'm saying that to say, baby, don't believe the hype. Let them say whatever they want, but they would be miserable. Not all of them, but a lot of permanent workers, they do not take pride in their job. They are miserable. They're always talking about how they're ready to quit, or if they found the job that they really like, they're going to quit. A lot of them will pull you to the side and low-key have a conversation with you and ask you how much does the temp agency that you work for pay, and they'll ask you what is it that they have to do to downgrade and go to being a temp. I was asked that by several people. A couple of permanent workers told me they hoped that the company was going to fire them because they was ready to leave anyway. And they wanted to be demoted and put up as a temp. So if the company fired them as a permanent worker, they would come through the temp agency. So it's a lot of different things you have to pay attention to. It's a lot of different things that you're going to learn, but you use it as a stepping stone. If you just want to get the experience before you go permanent at a company, and you want to do a certain amount of work, or you're educated to do a particular thing, and you want to like bump your feet around and just see what it's about and get your feet wet, very well do that. If you need the flexibility because you have serious things going on within your family or with your children or with yourself or with your health, don't feel bad. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed if you getting temporary work is the route that is better for you. Don't ever listen to what people in this society tells you, because although there are gurus out here, there are people that are very well educated and knowledgeable on the workplace. They cannot tell you to do what it is they personally do, because it may not work for you. What worked for me may not work for other people, and vice versa. You've got to do what is best for you. But I'll tell you something before I end this message. I didn't have anywhere near the high level of stress that permanent workers had. When I would come in to work, it was always, for the most part, a smile on my face. I was dressed very nicely, very tidy. I would crack jokes, and it was a breeze running through my shift. I would come in on my off days. Sometimes I went to different locations when one location got on my nerves. And after I put them on ice for 2 or 3 weeks or 2 months, I would stay at the other location. If they got on my nerves, I would go to the other one. This is the beauty of being a temporary worker. No matter what people think or say about it, if it works for you and it's better for you to switch out here and there to keep your mental health and your emotional state regulated, you do that, ma'am or sir. I promote things like this because when you have to stay delivered, meaning you don't want to get out of character, you don't want to snap on anybody, you don't want to bite anybody's head off, you don't want to risk somebody threatening to take your job away from you and interfere with the money you make to pay your mortgage, to pay your rent, to pay your car note, to pay your phone bill and buy groceries, then baby girl, baby boy, whoever you are, young, middle age, or old, you do what you need to do. A check is a check is a check. whether you are a permanent worker or a temporary worker. All is green money, and it works the same. And so I hope this video message help you all. If you want to ask certain other questions, even from a legal standpoint, or if you want to ask certain questions that you don't want to put out here publicly, I leave it open for you all to freely come in the comment section and ask me a question, because a couple of you recently have, or you can email me. If you look up here on my channel and you go to my page, go into the bio, click on it, and if you scroll down, my public email address is there. I'll try to help you all to the best of my ability and with the knowledge that I have about a temporary agency. But it is a lot of pros and cons that you will learn and that you will see. And I don't want you all to get discouraged. Don't get discouraged if you are a temp worker now and you are being treated a certain way and you want to kind of jump out of it, and you feel like, well, whatever I got going on in my personal private life, I just got to go permanent because I'm not getting the respect that I'm looking for or that I deserve being a temporary worker. No, you need to just change the temp agency. Plenty are out here. Do your homework before you go that route. So that's the video message. Time for me to go, guys, because I have some other things to do. The Lord willing, I will be back with another video message. If any one of you have taken offense to anything I spoke about in this video message, it's okay. It's all right. I'm not worried about it. I am not concerned, because I know you will forgive me in the morning.